Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Good to be here.
Today, we're digging into something that's been, pretty front and center lately. The real-world effects of recent tariffs.
Yeah, it's a big one.
We've been going through this new report, and honestly, it really makes you rethink some of the standard lines we hear about these policies. It challenges that conventional wisdom.
It absolutely does. So our mission today really is to unpack that. We want to cut through the noise a bit, show you some of the maybe unexpected consequences.
Consequences for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Consumers, businesses.
Exactly. And the bigger picture, too, global relations. We'll try and lay it out clearly so you get a real handle on what's happening without drowning in data.
Okay, let's jump in. The usual story we hear about tariffs is, they're meant to protect our own industries, maybe shrink the trade deficit, make us stronger.
Yes, the promise, yeah.
But is that what's actually happening on the ground? What's the kind of main takeaway from this report on that?
Well, the core finding is pretty stark, actually. The report basically says that instead of shielding the economy, these tariffs are acting more like a hammer.
A hammer.
Yeah, hitting households and businesses with higher costs. It suggests the outcome is often, the exact opposite of what was intended. People are getting hammered, as the report puts it.
So when you feel that squeeze on your budget, it's maybe not just inflation, it could be partly this too. A direct hit.
That seems to be a key part of the finding, yes.
And, something else that really stood out to me reading this, beyond just the cost, was the way these tariffs have been applied. This on-again, off-again thing.
The unpredictability. Yeah.
That volatility, it seems like it would create its own problems.
Oh, absolutely. That creates this huge ripple effect. So much uncertainty. Businesses, they really get hesitant about investing, about hiring.
Right.
Because who knows what happens next week. The report uses this phrase, unpredictability is the enemy of prosperity. It makes it really hard to build momentum.
You can sort of picture that, can't you? A business owner thinking, do I expand now or wait and see? And that affects jobs, maybe even whether you can find certain products.
Precisely. That hesitation has real consequences down the line.
Okay, so let's drill down into that human impact the report talks about, the direct hit to our wallets.
Yeah.
It says tariffs are adding fuel to already rising costs, groceries, rent, the basics, but also specifically things like clothes, furniture, cars.
Exactly, those everyday items. And there's a pretty striking statistic on this from the National Retail Federation. They estimate American consumers could lose billions in purchasing power.
Billions, wow.
Yeah. It's not just one thing. It's the cumulative effect on all the imported parts and goods. It just sort of quietly pushes prices up.
Yeah.
Really makes you ask, who's actually bearing this cost?
And even changing how people shop, apparently. A report mentioned a survey. Something like 34% of people are putting off buying things.
That's right. Delaying purchases because they're unsure about prices. Or, interestingly, the opposite, too.
What, buying things sooner?
Yeah, buying earlier than planned just to try and lock in a price before potential future tariffs hit, it really disrupts normal buying patterns.
Huh. That's fascinating. It messes everything up.
It does. And here's another surprising finding. Despite the whole idea of boosting Made in the USA, only about 20% of people surveyed are actively trying to buy American.
Only 20%? Why so low, do they think?
Well, the report suggests it boils down to cost. When people are struggling, feeling that pinch we talked about, affordability just trumps patriotism. The wallet wins out.
Makes sense. It forces you to think about your own priorities when money's tight, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Beyond our wallets, what about the global stage? Because these policies don't happen in a vacuum.
No, definitely not.
The report mentioned some really strong reactions from allies, right? Canada, Mexico, the EU. They're fuming.
That's the word used, yes. And it's not just talk. Canada's already put, 25% tariffs on some U.S. goods?
Right. And the EU has this huge retaliation package ready, like $21 billion.
Exactly. Billions. So the pushback is real and significant.
But it goes deeper than just trade disputes, according to this report. There's a geopolitical shift happening.
This was, I think, one of the most concerning parts. The report points to this major erosion of trust. Get this. 70% of Mexicans and 60% of Canadians now see the United States as their main threat.
Wait, not China.
Yeah.
Not Russia. Us.
Us. That's a huge shift, a really profound geopolitical rearrangement, potentially.
Wow. And you see echoes of this online too, right? People talking about needing to reroute supply chains around the U.S.
Yeah, social media is buzzing with that. And even more direct comments like, no one wants to buy American goods right now. That sentiment is out there.
So these short-term actions, the tariffs, the retaliations,
Yeah.
the report suggests they could lead to something bigger, more permanent.
That's the concern raised, yes. It talks about potentially a more fragmented global order, a diminished global leadership role for the U.S. Essentially, the report hints that this isn't just tweaking the system, it's potentially tearing apart the whole system.
Yeah.
A violent rearranging of how global trade and alliances work.
That's quite a statement. It really makes you pause and think about the long-term consequences of, well, alienating your neighbors and allies like that.
It certainly does.
Okay, so bringing it back to the business level for a moment.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs, for companies just trying to operate day to day, the report calls this environment a minefield.
A very apt description, I think. Imagine trying to run a business right now.
Yeah.
You constantly have to worry about where your materials come from, where your customers are, what tariff might suddenly appear tomorrow, long-term planning, almost impossible.
Some companies are just stuck.
Well, they're holding back, delaying investments, maybe rethinking where they make things entirely, not just because of today's costs, but because the rules could just flip overnight.
Yeah.
It's like trying to build a house during a hurricane, basically. You don't know when the next big gust is coming.
Really underscores the kind of resilience businesses need right now.
Yeah.
Adaptability must be key.
Absolutely essential.
All right, so let's try and wrap this up. This deep dive, it really feels like it's uncovered a lot. Tariffs may be intended for one thing.
Yeah, protection, strength.
Right. But the reality seems to be hitting consumers and businesses with higher costs. Almost the opposite effect. And perhaps even more critically, causing these really deep shifts in global relationships.
It paints a complex picture, for sure.
It does.
Which maybe leaves us with a final thought to chew on. You know, what does it really mean for this interconnected world we live in and for your place in it? When policies that are designed for domestic gain end up creating this kind of widespread economic instability, and maybe even worse, eroding that critical trust internationally, it seems like it's fundamentally altering the landscape.
A powerful question to consider. What does that mean for the future?
Indeed.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. As always, keep asking questions, keep digging deeper, keep that curiosity alive about the forces shaping our world.